Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the popular one, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Let's rewind time a little bit here. Known criminal Yuji Naka bailed on the Japanese to work for STI in the States and will work for someone named Mark Cerny. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I actually have a lot of respect for the man because you've probably heard of his work, even though you've probably never heard of the gentleman himself. He's worked as a designer, a programmer, and a producer for Marble Madness, Kid Chameleon, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro 1, 2, and 3, Ratchet and Clank 1, 2, 3, and 4, Jak 1, Jak 2, Uncharted 1, God of War 3, Resistance 2, Killzone 3, Knack 2, the Ratchet and Clank remake, and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, as well as The Last Guardian, Death Stranding, and Spider-Man on the PS4. So, yeah, he's been around. He's been in the industry for a long time. And he is still doing stuff as of now. I'm curious if he's in that new God of War game, which I have no thoughts of. Do not ask. Anyways, I mention him because this is actually his baby. I know that sounds strange. He's got this group together. STI is what they're called, Sega Technology Institute. And he founded the company, founded the team, and said, all right, we're gonna do some cool stuff. We're gonna serve as a branch point for getting Sega games here in the States, right? Because Sega Japan was like, oh, we need to get them States market. And so there was a big push for that. I also mention him because he actually left at some point in development of Sonic 2. I have to say it that way because there's no agreement on when exactly he left. Only that by the time that Sonic 2 was released, he was no longer working at STI. STI kept going, he just bailed. Which I find hilarious for several reasons. Yeah, we also don't know what exactly he contributed. It's just like a big question mark. He has spoken several times about why he left. There were two big reasons. First, Yuji Naka, who continues to be a black stain on this freaking franchise. But also, there were issues with the Japanese developers that we're going to talk about. There's a bit of racism going on here. The Japanese devs who are working on Sonic 2 would regularly, and without even bringing it up, like just as if it was normal, would sleep in their cubicles and work nights, because that's just how you worked. This is the 90s. What? This is the early 90s, in fact. So, yeah. Japan development, we've actually talked about this problem before, and how we're still dealing with it to this very frickin' day. Anyways, so the demand came from on high. We need a game to release in the holiday of 1992. By the way, the game did come out in November. So, that would give them 11 months of development time. Now, hold on. This is early 90s, so 11 months is plenty of time. But they also wanted to push the hardware and develop new mechanics, which means 11 months is not enough time. Like, they were trying to actually innovate here, not just, make another Sonic game. So, that's cool. Here's the fun thing. Sega executives didn't think they should make a new Sonic game. This is very funny to me because it shows just how idiots in suits have always been stupid. Just always. You just go back 80 years and you still find idiots in suits who have no idea what they're talking about. As a reminder, this is not, like a lot of this is from interviews and from second-hand accounts or first-hand accounts, but we have facts and figures about the fact that Sonic 1 sold really, really well, and is pretty much the reason that the Genesis was on the market at all in the United States. Because the Sega Genesis just did not have a market share in the States until Sonic 1 came out, right? But really? Nah, nobody wants a Sonic game. Nobody wants a Sonic game. So they told STI, no, we're not making a Sonic 2. And STI said, okay. So then they spent 2 months, possibly might come out. Then they spent 2 months. Why would that matter? Hang on, I'm sorry, I don't understand your question. All you're doing is making more of the point here. So they spent 2 months, if I can finish my sentence, Jesus, Benoit, STI spent 2 months trying to workshop a new game. It's like, okay, let's figure out something that they actually will greenlight. And for 2 months they did nothing. Everything came down, I was like, no. Hang on. no. Finally, they were like, all right, make Sonic 2, whatever. I should mention that, unlike in some stories, nobody was working on Sonic 2. There was no, like, pre-work or pre-production. It's just they finally were like, okay, fine, go ahead and make it. So now they have 9 months to make a brand new game while pushing limits of the hardware. Some of you are probably aware of the fact that Sonic 2 has a hilariously huge amount of cut content on both the story axis and the gameplay axis. This is why. Is because the original treatise was designed for a game that had, you know, an actual development cycle and not 9 months of crunch. Hang on, it gets worse. So, they're like, okay, fine, whatever. Surely, at least now we can actually start making our game, right? Well, problem. Sega of America is probably some of the most amusingly incompetent morons of this era. And they apply this. I actually like to think that this is just them being elitist dickheads. I don't know. But they applied for the wrong visa, for the wrong working visa for the Japanese developers. They applied for a specific visa, which is for exceptional persons, right? Like big celebrities or people who have contributed to science or music or whatever. And they automatically assumed that game developers would qualify. They did not. So yeah, a lot of these Japanese devs had to go home. So, basically everything in the world is running into this. Yeah, 2 is before CD. I should mention CD was in development during this development cycle. But because CD came out a year later, CD had a full, proper development cycle, whereas 2 was a bunch of people. 2 was a Tom and Jerry cartoon. No, CD was actually greenlit before 2 was greenlit. I double-checked the dates on that. So, the Sega marketing team also insisted on something. I've actually already studied a bit of Sega's history before covering the Sonic series, I mean. And it really is funny because we can point to just about any major company out there and laugh at how stupid they are. Of course, Von Falkenstein. That's probably exactly what they thought. Sega are the worst. I don't mean they're the worst. Using the metric of stupidity, they are the worst. They are the dumbest freaking morons. Sega have had so many opportunities and so many golden gooses across their career. It is honestly shocking that Sega is still around as a company, considering how many other companies got filtered out in the 90s and the aughts. You remember Atari died? They came back, but they did actually die. No, worse than swear. Absolutely worse than swear. They have done so many dumb things. Speaking of, remember that now, I have no idea, Mr. Ed. Remember that now they've got less time to work on it and less workers to work on it. And they already want to make it bigger. They already want to be way ambitious with it. So now Sega of America's team came down and said, you know, sequels don't sell. Therefore, yeah, keep in mind this is well after Mario 3 and Mario World and Final Fantasy 4, and I can name a dozen others. So they insisted that they needed to do something to go even bigger than the already ambitious stuff they were doing. No, we're not moving the sales date, by the way. You have to release by freaking November of 1992. Probably offshore Twitch account. Oh my god. So this is why they did... There were 2 specific outcomes as a result of this really dumb decision. Outcome number 1. Yeah, originally Sonic 2 was all about time travel. Independent from Sonic CD, before you ask. So, thing number 1, this is where Tails came from. Now, I know they were going to add Tails into the first game, but this is why they insisted on the mandate of there being a second player. I'll come back to that in just a second. The other thing was removing the speed cap on Sonic. Now, if you know anything at all about game development, programming, and rendering specifically, you know that that's not something you just do. If, for example, if you just took Sonic 1 on the Genesis, as it was, and didn't change anything, but removed the speed cap, which is an incredibly glitchy, buggy game, because the game was not designed well enough to be able to render that hard. It literally did not have the programming to use the hardware properly, right? So go over to Sonic 2, and now as a result of this, they had to figure out some way to, once again, use the hardware better. So that's a huge chunk of development time just on making it render. Yeah, you can literally see how the game... There's a reason I showed you a hacked version of, I think it was Sonic CD? One of the Sonic games, where the camera would stay with Sonic because under normal circumstances it couldn't. You know, now, 40 years later, we have better understanding and knowledge and programming to be able to make this stuff happen, but back then... Actually, it's worse than that, Fraser. It was 6 months. I actually have this right here in my notes. Multiplayer alone took part of the team just sitting there working on it for 6 months. 6 of the 9, by the way. This again makes sense. Yeah, no kidding. I'll share Twitch account. Because the idea here is, for those of you who don't know, co-op is a whole other beast when it comes to a video game. First of all, there's more. Oh God, I don't want to give you guys a programming lesson. Let me summarize excessively. Having a second input is a whole other series of calculations that all have to happen alongside the inputs of the first player. And then you have to consider all the rendering of the second player, which has to be done independent of the first player and all the other stuff that's already being rendered. Yeah, so that's a super duper summary, but it's a huge deal. It's one of the reasons why co-op games tend to borrow code from other co-op games. It's one of the reasons why back in the day games like Double Dragon were considered so like revolutionary. It's like, oh my god. And arcade games did the same thing too. Yeah, it literally more than doubles your workload. It's not additive, it's multiplicative, right? So, there goes 6 months of the 9 months. A quick aside, real quick. I wanted to mention that Yasushi Yamaguchi is the one who invented miles per hour. Do you get it? Everybody hated the name. Well, let me walk that sentence back. They said they can't possibly name a character named Miles per hour. So they came up with the compromise of giving him the name Tails, which everybody hated. This is a real thing. I'm not even making. There was a whole argument when they went back and forth between the things, which is funny because their intended solution was just to do both. His nickname is Tails, and his name is Miles per hour. And that's it. Boom, done. There you go. But it's funny how much time and effort and drama was created over the name of Tails. I mentioned this guy though, Yasushi, because he has almost no credits to his name. He has worked on 10 games ever. The only games I actually recognized him working on are Phantasy Star 2, this, and Sonic CD. And that's it. But he invented Tails, so there's his stamp on history. Some of the original story ideas were wild. I'm going to kind of gloss over this because there's a lot. Robotnik would take over the world. You'd have to time travel multiple times. It was this big, epic story, which was going to involve like doing all these routes in dozens of zones. And this is a 9-month rushed project, so cut. But here's the problem. How many of you have heard me talk about games which have rushed development? If the answer is anything other than 100% of you, then hi, I'm the Lore Runner, and we cover games like that all the freaking time. It's a bit of a commonality, one might say. But there's something I talked about recently, and I think it was VTMB 2 is when it most recently came out. But there are several examples of this where, let me use a made-up example. Hey, Rax, I want you to make a Metroidvania, and I want you to make it in 5 months. Go. Now, hang on. That's not what I'm explaining. Now, let's say 5 months in, somehow she hasn't finished the game. So I don't know how she didn't make the Metroidvania from scratch in 5 months. I gave her 5 months. What's the issue? So at the end of the 5 months, I then say, okay, fine, I'll give you more time. So you couldn't plan for the time. You couldn't plan in advance for the fact that you actually have 10 months of development time. Instead, you were developing for 5 months, and then you're given 5 extra months. I know this probably sounds strange, but speaking from the perspective of actual management, not like the joke ridiculousness. Yeah, Dragon Age 4 had this problem too. Not from the joke ridiculousness of management, but like real actual management. That's worse than if you just gave them the 5 months. It actually completely screws with workflow and makes it so that they can't properly plan for anything because they don't know that they have that extra time. So they're operating as if they don't have it. And if you suddenly shift gears mid-project, they don't just suddenly be like, oh, thank God. It doesn't work. So, that's not what happened here. They really did only have the 9 months. But the point is, they weren't able to plan for the extra stuff because they didn't plan for it in advance. So I mentioned racism. The Japanese devs handed a lot of the level design off to a lot of the American developers who worked on the project. Let me be clear about this. They already finished work on a lot of sketches and sprite work and some of the basic level layouts and terrain design of quite a few zones. Way more than ended up in the final game. And then, after they had already worked on all that, that's when they cut them. Now, I see why, I understand, but this is bad management 101. Because you have wasted time twice. You wasted time by working on something you're not going to use, and you wasted time because you didn't plan for this in advance, and then had them working on something that they could have actually put into the freaking game. I'm not even going to talk about how demoralizing this was, because I mentioned racism. Yeah, Hidden Palace was essentially done. It was all the American teams' levels. We don't have 100% confirmation that it was racism. But considering what happens with Sonic 3, foreshadowing is a literary device, I'm pretty sure this was just straight up Japanese elitism and general xenophobia, because they really did. They cut almost all of the American designers' levels. So, now I want to mention Masato Nakamura. This is also bad management, because that's just Sonic. I am shocked this game is as good as it is. I really am, because this is all just hilarious to me. So, he did the music for Sonic 1. And they were like, we want to bring him in to do the music for Sonic 2. But the problem is his band, he was in a J-pop band at the time. His band was taking off, so he was going to charge more money. And Sega's like, we can't do that. So they brought in someone else, said, go make the music for Sonic 2. And the new team said, you got it, boss. And they made an entire soundtrack, gave it to Sega and said, what do you think, boss? And Sega said, this is terrible, and threw it in the trash, and then hired him anyways. I just want to be really clear about this. I need to make this fundamentally clear. Where are you getting the incompetence thing? Offshore Touchdown. I don't even want to get into the Michael Jackson thing. We'll get to that later. Yeah, Nakamura was so expensive, Michael Jackson would be cheaper. Just think about that for a second. Oh, the visas. Right, yes. So the executives were incompetent about the visas, and the Japanese developers were definitely racist towards the Americans. End statement. Anyways, so just to be clear about that, in case you missed that, they didn't want to hire the expensive guy who did good music. So they had an entire soundtrack developed, which they had to then pay for and also costs time. And then they threw that out the window and then hired the expensive guy to do the music anyways. Once again, that's kind of a double waste situation. Now, you're probably thinking, how is this game so good? So there's this thing called QA. I want to stress, I'm not actually joking. I'm not being facetious. I know I tend to be very pro QA. But they had a colossal QA team. It was, in fact, Sega of America's QA team, which was like 50-ish people. Which, if that doesn't sound like a big deal, 50 QA people for a game coming out in 1992 is enormous. And so they sat down and they QA'd the ever-living hell out of this game. And they also, it wasn't just testing. They had processes. They were organized. They were well-managed. So the QA team did their freaking job. They actually took video evidence of any bugs they found or any glitches, and they showed how it could be replicated. This is a terrible song. Can we switch to another song? There we go, much better. No, exactly. I bet you there's AAA titles that come out now that don't have 50 QA teams who are doing their job properly. Dude, that's the important part. So video documentation, plenty of scripted documentation, exact ways of replicating bugs, and recommendations for how to fix them. And all of that was just processed in and sent back to the devs. And here's the other shocking thing. The devs listened. Anybody who knows anything about QA testing knows that lots of games are QA tested. But there's this really awful tendency of the devs to just completely ignore the actual QA feedback. And just say, that's, Lots of QA testing and lots of actually listening to the feedback equals a fairly polished game. That right there is why Sonic 2 is not a colossal mess. There's also one more other thing, but I'll talk about that in a second. His offshore Twitch account just subbed. That's a good question, Darkrai. Unfortunately, the answer is it depends. I do know with total certainty that there are some game devs, hell, some software devs, who just don't want to do it, just don't want to deal with fixing it, so they don't. I also know that there's some cases where the execs are breathing down their necks and saying, we got to hit that release date. So that's going towards Sonic Modern 2D block. Dolo 7 will return, first lane. And the Sonic Master System block. Yeah. Thank you, Offshore Twitch account. Yeah, publishers are usually the metaphorical devils in these situations. Unless they're Bobby Kotick, which says they're literally the devil. There's a bit of a sunk cost fallacy in this entire thing. Here's the weird thing. Sega of America was gambling really hard on Sonic 2. The reason they insisted on that 92 release is because their financials were not looking good. Despite the fact that Sonic 1 did decently and was moving Genesis units, Sega was not doing well financially at this point, and wouldn't be for years, actually. There's a reason. So I mentioned very briefly back in Sonic 1 that in 98, Sega was supposed to merge with Bandai. Well, the reason that didn't happen was because both companies were in financial dire straits, and therefore it was considered an unsafe and a shaky merger, and it was cut off. But I want you to think about that. In 98, Sega was in such bad shape financially that they wouldn't even be eaten in a merger. Yeah, Sonic Adventure didn't save them that same year. It was a whole mess. So they really needed the big sale, and they needed it by that quarter, or else they were going to start having issues. So, for the love of God, please, 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 make this work. So they were gambling heavily on Sonic 2, which is really funny in hindsight, because just in the US, just in the first week, Sonic 2 moved 400,000 units. It sold really well. When they stopped counting, which was about the mid-aughts, it had moved over 6 million units. There's some disagreement about the specifics, but it's at least 6 million units. Now, that's ginormous. That is extremely well selling. It is one of the only reasons Sega was able to limp on until... Yeah, Sega probably should have shut... Well, there's no probably. Should have shut down as a company if they didn't get that gigantic donation I've mentioned a few times. Anyways. So let's go ahead and play the game, shall we? So, per request, this was Ross's decision. We're going to be playing Anniversary Mode. Oh no, it's the evil ones! I like how surprised he is that he can fly. Like, it's never occurred to him to fly before. Sega! Sonic and Miles Tails per hour in... Above checkpoint posts, right, yes. Listen, don't think about the physics of it. So I'm going to share one last little anecdote while we're watching this. Just if you'll forgive my indulgence. I think I've mentioned this before. This was my very first exposure to Sonic in any meaningful fashion. And that's actually a lie. My very, 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 very first exposure was a comic, which, you know, was the origin story back when Sonic was, you know, not blue. Anyways. But this is the first time I actually sat down and played a Sonic game. I had been visiting a friend up in Reno. Wait a second. And, well, this is an interesting set of options. This is, of course, the superior choice. I was visiting a friend up in Reno, and she and I used to hang out and play and do stuff on stuff, but a friend of hers... God, it's this weird, like, friend of a friend of a friend situation, because, like, I was visiting her, and then my mother wanted to visit a friend of hers, who was not a friend of my friend's mother, but my friend's mother was trusting my mother to watch us, so my mother just dragged us to her friend's thing. Okay, we got that out of the way. Anyways, we get there, and friend of Mom's had a Genesis and Sonic 2. I was like, what's this? I was like, I don't know if you know what video games are. And I was like, yeah, I know what video games are. This is, like, by this point in time, I think I'd already beaten Final Fantasy 4. I might be wrong about my timeline there, but I was well into video games by this point. So, yeah, no, I know what video games are. Okay, well, what do you got? I started blazing through it. And the dude was like, hey, you want to hear something cool? Sure. I want to stress, this is the first time I'd sat down with this game. So, I don't remember how he did it. I'm sure some of you know what it was, though. There was a debug option. Maybe it was something like the second controller and you hold right on the controller, something like that. But either way, there was a debug mode. And he showed me that, and he switched... So what is you could just move your character around like this, right? And you could turn yourself into whatever. And so he turned himself into a bunch of rings, made 50 rings on the spot, or 100 rings, whatever the number was, and then turned into Supersonic, and then just started blazing through the level. And I'm just like... What? So... When I got home, next time I spent time with my friend, who was in the apartment complex with me, who had a Genesis. Yeah, no, this was just like, huh? I was like, do you have Sonic 2? She did not. So we played some other stuff, but then I went out and made some money, because it's me, and bought her Sonic 2. And I have to admit, I'd like to be like, oh, it's so sweet, but my mentality at the time was just, I really wanted to play this game with her. Because it had co-op, remember? So... You know, I bought her Sonic 2, and we sat down and we started playing it, and I'm like, okay, here's the code, because I'd written it down. And oh my god, and we could just blaze through it. It's amazing. Holy crap. And that was my first time playing a Sonic game. As I've mentioned several times, Sonic 2 is also the first Sonic game I've beaten. And the next Sonic game after this that I've beaten is Unleashed on, I believe, the Wii. I think it was on the Wii. But anyways, moving on. We're going to go with the default for now. So, let's look at some of this stuff. So, most of these first two screens are functionally identical to Green Hill Zone. Let me try to explain this a little bit here. Yeah, gotta get our thumbnail. You've noticed the pattern already, Mr. Ed. Nice background, nice backdrops, good music, by the way. But the really important part is, yeah, the brickwork's much nicer. Slopes, 3 rings. Okay, let me make sure Tails is like... I don't know if I can do this. There we go. Hang on, just a little bit more. Just leave that there for a second. Okay, rings... teaching jumping, rings onto enemy, teaching jumping and comboing, which is going to be a huge thing. moving platform up to bubble. Another rings into enemy. You notice that Tails hit it instead of me. We also get that first slope almost immediately. Now, all of this is the stuff I was talking about for the first, like, 3 screens of Sonic 1. It's almost identical in terms of what it's conveying, right? You're supposed to be paying attention to what's below you. You're supposed to be able to jump up. You're supposed to learn how to jump on moving platforms. You're supposed to learn how to hold down the jump button. You're supposed to learn what rings do. You're supposed to learn, because it still does the same thing with the flashing rings. And we've got enemies, and you're supposed to, like the idea of do this into thing is probably the single most integral level design aspect of Sonic 2. Do thing into things. I know that sounds dumb, but you know what I mean if you played this game. And then, of course, the slope, which teaches you about this. Now, there was one new thing they added in this game. You can just florp your way up there, but then that happens. I was wondering what it would take to trigger it. So Tails, at least if you're playing single player, actually acts as a bit of a tutorial. And he teaches you about the spin dash, which this is when this is introduced to the series. In fact, it was added as a specific response to a common complaint about the game, about Sonic 1, I should say, where you had to backtrack to get momentum to go over certain things. So this gets rid of the backtracking, at least that was the intent. So now we're off the map. Now we've done all that. It's time to go ahead and see what else we got here. So we saw this in the intro. Hey, secrets exist. We also see a flame jet. I don't even see there. Here. Die. Thank you. So we see a yellow bounce pad. Let's introduce things like that. Hey, jump over these rings. There's a safe platform where the rings are. Once again, you get the idea. But there's also this red one. What's a red one do? And this is what a red one does. And that right there, if you've actually looked at the level layout of this stage, if you've looked at a map of it, you will know exactly what I'm about to tell you, because the entire stage is designed to move you through it quickly. This is a common trend in this game. There's 2 lanes, as there often are. And there's things like that. I was actually trying to get to that exact point there. Yeah, it's designed to be extremely forgiving, especially compared to some of the later levels. The whole idea is that almost at any point in time, you are more than free to be like, you know what? I want to go back up there and see what's up there. Okay. You also notice there are plenty of rings all over the place. And most of the enemies are reasonably easy to dodge. I was just expecting to get hit there for my hubris. Whoops. That's my fault. Notice different animations now, too. The character design came first. What? 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 No! My rings. I had like 80 rings. Oh no, I think I had 100 rings. My rings. Oh, and there's the ledge. I feel like I'm not explaining this properly, but this stage makes so much sense in my head. Pretty much everything about Emerald Hill Zone 1 is designed to constantly have you moving. There is very specific placement of bounce pads. There's very specific usage of the loops, which push your momentum forward. There's the horizontal loops that do this thing. There is a lot of ledges, which help you to get up, which usually involves a bounce pad. There's plenty of things to bounce off of, etc., etc. Emerald Hill Zone 1 is a zone that even someone who isn't a speedrunner can beat in like 20 seconds. And that's the point. 1 second, please. Jotting down some notes, don't mind me. Yeah, you're probably noticing how many of my jump angles kind of naturally lend themselves towards me hitting something. Usually a power-up. Not an enemy like that, it's my fault. Yeah, this game was a reaction to some of the feedback of Sonic 1, and I think part of the reason, this is pure speculative, I think part of the reason that so many people were against Sonic CD was because this is the game that kind of codified what a Sonic game is. Again, Mega Man 2. So, you know, you have a Sonic game all about kind of slow-moding your way through things. Well, there's not a lot of reason to do that in Sonic 2. There are some secrets, there are some additional paths. Making the point here. But for the most part, you really are designed to just kind of keep going. It may not even be obvious, but also your movement speed isn't just the only thing that's changed. Your controls are completely different. In fact, so far, I would say that Sonic 1 is the only game that's actually had really serious control issues. Probably because the physics engine wasn't even designed yet. See what I mean? There's that other animation. But I want to show off a little bit more because this is going to go so quickly. I just hit the wrong button twice here. Oh, that's actually not what I was expecting to have happen. What? How did that hit me? What hit me there? I mean, yeah, it's probably the enemy throwing something that I didn't even see. And we have to show off at least one special stage. I'd like to show off Supersonic at least once. Cute game. I do like the brickwork for what it's worth. But of course, I've liked the brickwork of every first stage so far. How do I get special stages in Sonic 2? But I've done that twice, and I've never gotten a special stage. Hello, Peeping Good Fate. These freaking monkeys and their coconuts, I swear to God. I mean, I think I've gotten hit by those monkeys more than anything else in the entire game so far. Which I guess isn't saying much because we're only on stage 2, but still. Careful there. God damn it. Which now I'm trying really hard to get rings and failing at it. Hi, Reflector. No, Von Falkenstein. Now I'm paranoid. Man, I don't trust me. You kidding me? I also don't remember where the next checkpoint is. That's why I'm moving so slowly. There we go. So, these are the special stages in 2. Time to fail. Okay. We've gotten the only emerald we're getting this playthrough. What? I got an achievement for killing stingers, of all things. So you notice there's only 2 stages per zone. Yeah. Did I mention the crunch and the cut? I feel like I did. I feel like that's something I brought up. This is actually my... Yeah, I'd say this is my favorite from Sonic 2. Like, there's one other song that I tend to think of when I think of Sonic 2, but this is probably my favorite. So, I know we just went through a lot. Let me try to emphasize a little bit of just how much the game is doing everything in its power to make sure we're going as fast as humanly possible. First of all, a lot of it flows naturally into itself. You'll notice one of the very first things we see is a downward slope to automatically encourage us to be going fast. Then we see things like this. Do exactly what they sound like. Oh, that worked out brilliantly. Yeah, this has a little bit of the noise issue. Honestly, if it wasn't for the blue, I'd probably be completely lost on this stage. Because you notice the yellow is also just all over the place. Green, actually, might come out of. Oh wow, I literally can. Yeah, hardly any enemies. Which is an interesting choice. Notice the two lanes are distinct from each other. Very minorly, Chillfinder. I have what's more common in color blindness, which is when I have trouble distinguishing certain colors when they're next to other colors. Listen, they'll never bring time travel back in Sonic Generations. Although, I guess that's not really time travel, it's kind of an asterisk, isn't it? Can I please get a checkpoint game? Like, I'm begging you. Please. Please. I'll be your best friend. Well, I want to redo the stage anyways, so moving on. I want to show off a little bit. Not for me, I suck at this game and I don't remember this stage at all. But I want to show off what this stage is all about. This right here is that new tech I just talked about in action. The mere fact that the game could do this was part of the reason why this game was so popular right there. There was a spectacle to it, for lack of a better way to call that. Yeah, there's... You can really get going in this stage. And again, not even for a speedrunner, just for a normal player who's just playing a normal playthrough. They can book it. You can still outpace the camera. It's just takes a little bit more work. my ancient nemesis right here. This dude. Tails, can you kill this guy for me? Please? Please. I agree with you, Rax. Again, the problem here is that this is the popular one. So, this kind of codified what a Sonic game was for a lot of people. I mean, think about those sales figures for just a second. Well, there's this other phenomenon we'll talk about if we ever get to the 3D games, where they overemphasize the speed to the point where it stopped being as fast, if that makes any sense. I'll show that off at some point. Yeah, exactly. It gets to the point where you're no longer... You, the player, are no longer fast. The character is fast, and it's just not as interesting. I can't manage that. I would say one of the only exceptions to that, for me personally, is actually Unleashed. I'm sorry, I actually felt properly awesome for pulling off a lot of the day stages in Unleashed. This is really frustrating. One more try, and then I'm gonna move on. Getting sick of this. I'm also gonna stop listening to Chill Pangolin and just go the route I actually know. No offense. I mean, I know we're 2 checkpoints up, but they're both pretty early in the stage. And it's harder to get the 50 coin rings by then. That actually sounds really cool, Goblin Denominator. That's why we can never have that. It's too cool. Okay. Should be good. Yep, there it is. Jesus Christ, there. Okay. Alright, so someone in chat, I think it was Ben One Eye, mentioned that this is their favorite song in this game. So, how many of you know who Dwayne and Brando are? Anybody? Literally anybody in chat? My favorite of their Sonic raps is their rap of this song. The only reason I even really recognize this song. I mean, I'm not gonna go for all the emeralds. I'm not insane. But I want to at least get a couple of them, you know, just to show off how Absolutely frustrating. Some of the... Oh my god! Some of these are. Yeah, did you see how that, the upward incline there was absolutely no way to tell that there was bombs coming? Yeah, so I fail. Yep. I can spend a coin on a retry. Not that I'm going to. But I could. What? Oh, right. So now for the stage that I've beaten like 3 times, I think, at this point. Listen, I don't know what the Japanese thing is with blonde people. I don't want to know. I mean, a Sonic 1 proper remake sounds awesome, but we'll never get that. Don't be silly. We might get a port, which changes very little and actually makes the game worse in almost every way. So, you know, that's possible. Hello, baby. Can I help you? You can't be up here while I'm streaming, you know this. Unless you're being quiet. Now, you are being quiet. So I'll go ahead and allow it for right now, okay? You have to stay quiet. What in the world? Hang on. I mean, amusingly, a Sonic 2 remake would be more likely to happen. Remember, the games that tend to get greenlit for remakes are the popular ones, and honestly, I'm not sure there's any Sonic more popular than 2. I could be wrong. There might be something more popular than that. Sonic Adventure 2? Really? Okay. Oh, yes, of course. Thank you for asking. Here you go. Yes, I see. It is very terrifying. Ah. Gotta have the image. Hello there, Ruth. Listen, Frost is just better, I'm sorry. Hang on, I'm gonna show my ignorance for just a second. Which one is 2? Like, what happens in Sonic Adventure 2? 2's the one with Shadow. That doesn't help as much as I'd like. Although that implies that he's not in Sonic Adventure 1. Oh, hey! A bottomless pit! Oh my god. So hang on. Let me reverse this question. What happens in Sonic Adventure 1? I got... Oh, wait, maybe I don't get it. Nah, you don't need this right now. I'll put it over here. So I remember the chaos, but like... I can remember scenes from Sonic Adventure 1, but I cannot remember any connective thread to those scenes, if that makes sense. Like, I can't process why, you know, you're fighting Chaos or why he's developing over time and why there's a perfect Chaos. I have not seen Sonic 2 or 3, the movies. This is interesting. So apparently, I will own up to my own stupidity here. I see it. Please don't put that in the thing and ruin it.
It's leaves.
I know. But it's for crafting. You or your sister. Yeah, so apparently what I've been thinking of as Sonic Adventure 1 for years is actually Sonic Adventure 2. Go figure. Listen, this is just the main theme, meme if you prefer, of the Sonic block is me just getting details wrong. Oop, that looked like a checkpoint. Alright, you ready? You think we can do it? I don't. Worse that time. Yeah, I actually failed at the second one. Listen, nobody talks about Black Knight, even though I actually played that game, and I enjoyed it for what it was. Did not beat. I haven't beaten a lot. Hang on, how many Sonic games have I beaten? Not counting this block. So I beat 2 back in the day. And I beat Unleashed. And I beat Colors. And I beat Generations. I beat Forces on camera. That might be the list, actually. I've never even played the advanced games. Well, that sucked. Moving on. What was after what was after Colors? What was after Generations, actually? I know there's Boom, which I didn't even play. I wanted to play Lost World, I just never got around to it. And then Forces, yeah, which I did play on camera. And then I guess Frontier would be the next one. And then Shadow X generation. So yeah, no, that's the list. That's the Sonic games I've beaten. Not a big list. I have not played Secret Rings. I haven't played the RPG. The one made by BioWare. I think that was BioWare. So that's what I have to say about the controls. Oh, bull crap! Oh, can I get a rawr? Thank you. It's beautiful. I like it.
Take a picture.
I'll take a picture. Hang on. Taking a picture. Oh, there we go.
You like it?
I do. It's very pretty. PC, not for a Twitch account. I see it. It's okay, bullcrap bosses are kind of standard for Sonic 2. In fact, this might be our first Sonic game with several boss negatives. Don't at me. I remember the last boss of this game. And by that I mean the last bosses of this game. Mostly Frost. Yes. It. It's a seahorse. I'm also playing at half capacity because most of my attention's on her right now. Not to excuse myself, just it is a non-stop stressor. So like underwater stages, right? 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 You do, right? Because they do. What's it? Ah. Which game is Hydrosity in? What? Oh, okay. How else would you pronounce hydrosity? Oh. Hydrocity. Well, unfortunately, it's not 2 words, so it's hydrosity. Don't worry, hydrosity is not an atrocity. It also sounds cooler. I sure hope so, Earth. Let's say, if it doesn't resemble a city, then y'all are just wrong, and that's the end of that argument right there. Sorry. Hidrockety. You know what? I'm on Team Hidrockety now. She just likes to hum. I'll mute. You know, I've beaten this game many times, and I have no memories of this stage at all. Seriously, I do not remember this stage. There's another stage later I remember quite distinctly. I look forward to pointing it out so you can all make fun of me for how much I used to die on it. No, it's not Metropolis. I actually don't know what it's called. Nope, not the casino. It's not Hilltop. Apparently none of you remember it either. This is great. And I guess you're saying J.E. What are you doing? What are you doing?
These two are fighting.
Why are they fighting? Aren't they friends?
They're not friends.
Aw, can they become friends?
They can't. They don't kiss anytime.
Oh, that's true. They don't kiss, therefore they can't be friends. You're absolutely right. Rax, come here. No, yeah, it's Mystic Cave.
This one is...
I keep getting collisioned by that. It's actually, I think, the second or third time I've been collisioned by the exact same block for the exact same reason, because I keep forgetting it's there. Like that one I just jumped in order to dodge, which has already killed me.
Seahorse opens the trash can.
I heard you. I heard the seahorse opening the trash can to you. What? 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 I literally looked away for a second. I didn't see what killed me there. Like, I was gonna get something out of my eye, and then, like, I'm dead. Oh my god. Hey. You've been very good. May I ask you to leave, please?
Candy.
I will give you a candy, but you gotta leave, okay? You get one candy. Which one do you want? You want the jelly slice? You want the fish? Okay.
Still blue ones.
Yeah, hang on. If you still want blue ones, you're gonna have to let me get them because they're pretty far down now. There you go.
Found fish.
Here, no, don't put it back there. We'll leave it here so you can play with it later, okay?
Don't put it back in.
Okay, I won't.
I'm doing it backwards.
Why are you doing it backwards?
Do it backwards again.
Okay, you can do it backwards again. Absolute favorite movie theater experience I've ever had. Oh gosh. So I've seen Star Trek 6 in the theaters. I've seen Episode 1 in the theaters. I've seen Infinity War in the theaters. And I've seen Avengers in the theaters. And it's one of those. Each of them for basically the same reason. It's the same reason that every European viewer hates. It was a good, reactive audience. I don't need to explain how things went in the Infinity War audience. That's easy. Episode 1, I think I've told the story a few times. There was, like, people were there in cosplay. We were acting out scenes from the original trilogy. You know, we were just having fun with it. Oh yeah, I guess Episode 3 would count too. I had the nicest seat in the house because I was in crutches at the time, Darth Crutch. Enemies in this stage. I can see swinging a single enemy variety positive. For reasons of homelessness, I never saw Lord of the Rings in the theaters. Any of them. That was that period of my life. I sigh because that is a true dismay to me. Like, I am actually upset that I never got to experience that. Forgive me for, like, being selfish or greedy or spoiled or whatever, but man. So I don't know what that would have been like in the theaters. So Episode 1, you know, we were all just being Star Wars geeks. Let's just call that what it is. Infinity War was obvious. Episode 3 was really legit. Let's see, what else? What did I just mention? Avengers. So, okay, this is actually kind of a funny story. So, I saw Iron Man 1 in the theaters. I think I mentioned this during the Revelations. And then... come on, there we go. No! And I completely skipped out of Incredible Hulk and Thor because, you know, I've read the comics, is how I always like to say that. I think I saw Captain America. I don't even remember if I saw Captain America in the theaters, to be quite honest with you. And so I wasn't, like, invested in the MCU in any real sense. And then a friend of mine was like, you gotta go watch these movies. I'm like, why? And they're like, just trust me. Just watch the movies. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. I'll go watch the movies. So, I sat down and I watched Thor, and I actually really liked it. For whatever that's worth. I was like, oh, okay. Now I gotta bother. So then I watched, you know, all the other ones on DVDs. That was strange. I think I dropped Dash by accident. And then by that point in time, Avengers was only in, like, the side little theaters, you know what I mean? The half theaters where it's just a slightly larger bedroom kind of a size. Hold on 1 second. So it was one of those little side theaters. And it was crammed. It was completely packed. With like 20 people. Because again, it's a side dinky little theater. And every single person who was there really wanted to be there. And so even though it was like the dinky side theater with the uncomfortable seats, that was an absolute treat to experience that with everybody. Yeah, I literally can't. That's fascinating, actually. Like, even with tons of time. Do you see that? Oh, God. So I saw a superhero movie in a drive-thru theater. Anyone want to guess which one it was? Hint, you're not gonna guess it. I was there with my girlfriend, if that gives anything away. So this would have been pre-2005. It was the Fantastic Four movie. No, not that one. No, not that one. No, not that one. That one. Yeah, the first one that did not involve Silver Surfer. And yes, the one with Jessica Alba. Not a great film. I had fun for reasons I will not elucidate upon, but... yeah. It's a shame. I actually liked going to drive-thrus back in the day. Back when you could actually find them. Just show up with some burgers, or a grill, if you feel like going into it. Get a, oh god, I can't think of the word right now. Thing where you do a cookout in the back of a pickup. There's a term for that. tailgate. Thank you. Get a tailgate party going on. Some drive-thrus wouldn't let you do that because some people don't know how to clean up after themselves. Huh? How did I go right through them? What? God damn it, Tails. Tails literally got me killed. Oh. Trick successful, Chill Pangolin. Well, so far, this is my least favorite trick. This is... Or, not trick, boss. This is awful. Moving on. Money, Evo. People wanted too much. Of course I remember this song. I mean, listen to the music. Yeah, they weren't making enough money. Most drive-thru theaters were actually making money because of the same basic reason that vinyls make money. And I know a lot of people disagree with that assessment, and I kind of don't care. So they were making money. Most of them were making money. And yeah, enthusiasm for the experience and wanting to just go out in a car, park there, chill with a friend, or a femme friend, or a mem friend, or whatever, and just chill and enjoy a movie. You know, turn the radio to the thing so you can hear the audio. Get usually a good food at some of these too, right? And you just chill and enjoy. It's especially good when it's nice out. That's another kind of a catch. Some specific regions, you're just not going to get a good experience going to a drive-thru because it's hot and it's muggy and there's bugs, right? But you get a nice environment, it's like, oh, yeah, I need to chill, enjoy the air, you know, stuff like that. It's great. It is a fun experience. I do miss it. Speaking of which, someone earlier asked when I stopped watching the MCU. I can actually tell you. Everyone in the cars is talking. I can actually tell you the exact film that made me stop while following the MCU. It was Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness? Strange 2. Thank you, Canada Banks, very much. For those of you who haven't watched Strange 2, it sucks. There's actually some really good moments in it that have nothing to do with the film, if that makes any sense. Like, it's the kind of film which would be universally negative, but every now and again there'd just be like a cavalcade of positives for like one scene, which is just really good, and then it'd go back to being awful, and then it'd be like one scene of good, and then it'd go back to being awful, and it wouldn't stop doing that. But I should mention that was kind of the last straw kind of a situation for me. I was already on my way out. I was content to let things sit with Endgame, and I wasn't really impressed with anything I saw that came out after Endgame. And then I saw that, and I was like, you know what? I'm good. Well, the other funny thing is, they don't even use the multiverse. If you're going to have a multiverse, do something with it. There. Aw. Yes! Push-ups. How did you know? Alright, here we go. Let's do it. Let's do it. Big money. Big money. Ah. Alright, I'm gonna put up put Tails up as collateral here so I can keep gambling. Game. Ah. Oh yeah. Hang on. Sorry, rated M for mature. We're gambling. I mean, I know a lot of MCU fans who are excited because of WandaVision to see Strange 2. And let me tell you, if you like WandaVision, do not watch Strange 2. The creators of Strange 2 certainly didn't. It's not a joke, by the way. Yeah, the deeper ends. The funny thing is, I'm pretty sure there are actually several good post-Endgame MCU movies. But honestly, I just sort of lost the care. No judgment intended. No, like, elitism here. I just sort of stopped caring. You know? Plus, time is eternally a factor for me. Sure, why not? Tails, could you... It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. Anyways. Yeah, no kidding, Frieza. Tails. Tails, stop gambling. You're too young for that. Yeah, I noticed there's almost no enemies, because this is what we call a playground level. Yeah, no spikes, no enemies, just bouncy pads. Have fun! Now Alt-Tab. My favorite thing to do. Yeah, this is the night guy, by the way. A lot of Sonic and Miles, which I find funny. Not Tails, Miles. Because that's his frickin' name. Yeah, sure, why not? Why not? One more try, just for funsies. Not like I'm gonna get it. I'm mostly just doing this so Ben, when I can hear the music some more. That's all I want. I mean, most people have a first and last name, but the reason he has a first and last name is because it's a pun. Can't be miles per hour if his name is just Miles. It doesn't work. Well, good news, this is probably the last time we're seeing this. So enjoy it while it's here. Soon it will be gone forever. Well, that's failure state. 5 ring slot. Oh well. The one mistake killed it. Oh, come on, game. Just being a dick at that point. No, 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 I don't. Tails, no, no, you won. That's when you walk away, Tails. Tails. Back into the pit with you. Ah! Gotta get them kids addicted early. Well, for example, this one's going to get windshield wiper. To use a specific example. What's the jackpot get you? I actually don't remember. Yeah, no, exactly. The fact that most of the background is dark actually makes this way better than a lot of the Sonic CD problems we had. Hey, the quack. Typical casino. As soon as I start winning big, the guy comes out with spiked balls and starts electrocuting me. It's like every time I went to Reno back as a kid. Hey, sure, it appears that you're winning entirely too much in our casino. We're gonna have a couple words with you. Yep, this is the Egg Bouncer. It's the name of this enemy. We've got the Death Egg and the Phoenix Egg and whatever else out. This is the Egg Bouncer. Yeah, it's always win, Sonic. You gotta understand. I'm afraid you've been winning a little bit much here. Have some complimentary buffet tickets. And you can see the show tonight on the house. Just stop winning. That's all we ask. Is that an actual thing to do? Yes. This is a real thing. Here's the thing. This is what's going to happen. Let's say you go to a casino. Let's say you start winning. Cool. The very first thing they're going to do is they're going to pull you aside, and they'll be very polite. They'll be very nice. But you're going to be isolated for a minute. And they're going to double-check your stuff. They're going to double-check your things and double-check the machines you went through. When they verify you have not cheated, they will come back, apologize for the inconvenience. They'll give you, like, free things to the buffet, probably a free ticket to the show, possibly a few other benefits, like a free night, you know, at the hotel or whatever. And then they're going to tell you to get out. You've been cut off for X period of time. And basically, you are not allowed to come back until X period of time has passed. It will all be very polite. If you come back before then they'll actually ban your ass. And from that point onwards, they will start calling the cops on you. But that first interaction, they are unflappably polite. Yeah, it depends on how much money you made that first time. It's for winning too much, but yes, is the answer. Yeah, they will search you. They'll give you a pat down. Yeah, casino is intended to make money. It's like insurance. And yes, I'm comparing insurance to gambling. Both of them are scams. Just call it what it is. Both of them are designed to make money, not to give you anything. Well, if they catch you cheating, that's bad. One second. Let me play catch up a little bit. Also, this is my least favorite song in Sonic 2. I don't know, something about it is just... Yeah, they're allowed to cheat. You are not. If you cheat, the law is on their side. What they're doing is legal. That's an interesting question, Blue Dragon EXE. It's certainly less stressful, but I think overall pound for pound CD has better level design so far. Where are we at? We're in the mountains, right? Here, let me throw in some music. Just give me a second. And yeah, welcome to Emerald Hill, Emerald Hill's past. I tend to barely remember this stage. I know it's there only because every time I get to it, I'm like, oh, yeah, this stage. So there's a fascinating economic phenomenon that's been happening off the deep end that I've talked about a few times. And it boils down to the fact that the audience for casinos, like actual proper casinos, is just slowly shrinking and not recovering, and probably never will. If we're being honest, that's probably the end of that particular era. Some of the smart casinos have already seen this coming and have been adjusting to adapt. Some of the dumb casinos have been trying to make whatever money they can now before they can't anymore. Yeah, it's weird how that works, Rex. There are people who still have the headspace for being addicted, but that's what gotcha's for. Really? Well, I look forward to seeing what I think of Hilltop, because I honestly don't remember it that much. Really? Actually, yeah. It is funny how much some of these places are killing their own markets because of their own greed. Maybe funny is not the right word, but I don't want to get too much into politics like I do every single stream. Apologies. But there's proven economic data that the more well-off people are, the more they spend, which leads to economic growth. And assuming that money is then reinvested, which is not a guarantee, that then leads to more people making decent money, and people are cool, and it becomes a self-sustaining system. Because every 20 or so years, a new generation pops in, and then they have to be cycled back into that system. But as long as there is still a decent flow of money through the system, then everyone's cool. Yeah, money. I know this is the realm of opinion, not fact, but in my opinion, money needs to flow. Money needs to flow through a system for the system to work. Otherwise, we have what's happening now. Because unlike some economists, I will actually be willing to tell you that most economic statements are matters of opinion and not fact. If anybody tells you this is an economic fact, they're probably misinformed or lying. Money, still the realm of opinion. The best possible way to use money, in my opinion, is it's a measuring stick. Inches. I like to call it inches. Because no matter how you break down society, money has to exist. I know that sounds strange. But even if we somehow magically had infinite resources, truly infinite resources and infinite disposal, we still would not have infinite time. There's always going to be some metric of what to allocate where and how and on what, right? So you're always going to have some kind of measuring stick saying this right here is the value of a thing. But the thing is, that applies now. We don't have infinite everything, but what we do have is a measuring stick of goods and services, and that's the two big things. Things we produce, you know, literal physical things, you know, like a fork, and services like what I'm doing right now. Thank you very much for all of you who keep me afloat. By the way, nobody commented on my tie choice. I got a tails tie just for today. So there's always going to be money. The problem is when people try to abstract money as into having value in and of itself, which it does not. Money has no value. Money is worthless. Money is just there to measure the value of other things. As I've said many, many times, inches don't have a value, right? I thought about it, Chill Penguin, but I don't have a second orange tie. And I couldn't get one in time. And I didn't think about it until it was too late. Anyways. Okay. Enough of this terrible, terrible music. Let's get on with this. Thank you, Kinky. Bye, Tails. Hi, J. Palmer. So you know how earlier you were talking about getting all arguey about hydrosity? Remember that? Anybody who's ever been around any with people at all knows there's common there's a commonality to that kind of an argument, right? Where people just always argue about X, Y, or Z. Subs versus dubs, to use another example of this phenomenon. The reason I bring this up is because the thing for economists is, should we go back to the gold standard? And let me tell you, people will get heated about that. Just like they will about anything like this. Yeah, GIF or GIF is another one. Oh, really? This is interesting. Uh-huh. So the gold... Alright. To summarize excessively, forgive me for this massive summary. So that's GIF, obviously. To summarize excessively, let's say you use J. Palmer bucks, and let's say I use Rax bucks, okay? Well, how do we trade? What is the relative value of a J. Palmer buck to a Rax buck? Well, the gold standard fixes that. Because you say that your, one J. Palmer buck is worth, let's say, 0.05 ounces of gold, okay? And then one Rax buck is worth 2 ounces of gold, because inflation's going crazy over here. What we have now is a standard of conversion. And now you and I can trade because we both know the relative value of our two currencies. Make sense? That's the gold standard. The problem with that is everything. Like, there's so many issues with that. But it was a solution. It was actually a patch fix. Those of you who study both history and economic history, like me and I think 2 other people in the entire world. It was designed as a quick fix to make sure that a lot of people who did a lot of trade with each other across fairly decent periods of distance could trade. And there you go. Cool. And then they kept using it for centuries. I believe the saying is, there's nothing more permanent than a temporary solution. There we go. That is actually really funny, that one. Yeah, nowadays we tend to base things off of the value of oil, or more accurately, petrol. Which I forget which step that is of oil. It's like step 2, I want to say. Don't look at that. But yeah, it's also worth noting that gold was primarily used because it was worthless. Nowadays we actually have quite a few uses for gold. Almost all of them are electronic related. Gold's a good conductor, is great for circuitry, and can be used in a lot of higher-end technology that is not circuit-related, which I don't know the names of right now. Please don't ask me. And that's the gold standard. Any questions? But yeah, that's why gold is also kind of a worthless thing to hoard. The only reason gold has ever had any real value is because people said it did. It's the same reason people say a dollar has value. It's because someone somewhere says it does. Seriously? Yeah, diamonds are another interesting one because they also have a use. Everything has a use. Everything in the entire world has a use. Except Star Wars fans. But, what, Rex? Alright, just for you, last time. This is the last time I'm doing this. Yeah, if you ever want to really study economic history, look up the history of the banknote. It is effectively the beginning of fiat currency. aka what people usually refer to as paper money. Once again, nobody really designed it. It was just kind of a patch fix for a problem that, you know, kept going. There are plenty, yes, massive freaking boulders have been used as currency. A lot of things have been used as currency in human history. Again, currency, money, is almost an inevitable reality of any society. A measuring stick, remember, that's all currency really is. Except the Federation when it's written badly. Which is funny because plenty of Star Trek has a currency in Federation. So, I actually have an easy answer to that push-ups, amusingly. People like easy answers. No, I'm serious. That's actually the answer. People like simple solutions. How do I lose weight? Well, I just have to do this one exercise every week, and I'm good. Fun fact. That's probably not going to involve you actually losing weight. But people look at gold and say that's the solution to the problem of the economics. There you go, boom, done. We go back to the gold standard, everything's great. Gold is always super valuable. There you go. Easy answer. Sorry. Normally I'd alt-tab and jot down some notes, but just enjoy this for a second. Most people have, historically speaking, with Aerith. But we've used a lot of things as currency over the years. Yeah, I'd play it for you right now if it wouldn't be outright stealing from them, but if you're interested, look up the Dwayne and Brando Sonic 2 song. It's effectively just one song, but it's a mix of a whole bunch of these, obviously. There we go. Always has been off the deep run. People relearn that lesson every few years. It's almost funny if you look at it historically. I mean, Mario. J. Palmer. Mario games have plenty of issues, and always have, but Mario has Mario Wonder, and Mario Odyssey, and Mario Galaxy 2, and Mario Galaxy 1, and Mario 3D World. The core Mario dev team for many years has been some of the best developers in the platformer scene. They know what they're doing, they know how to expand, they know how to innovate. They know how to put out insanely polished products, like, no, Mario. Yeah, would you rather play this or Mario 3? Just to put that into a normal perspective there. Well, of the 2D Marios, the best 2D Mario, in my opinion, is Wonder. But the second best one is Yoshi's Island. Now, here's an interesting question. Someone look it up right now. When did Yoshi's Island come out? 95, yeah, that's what I thought. Pretty far in. And that's my point. 3 years after this game came out. So, yeah, of course Yoshi's Island is better. I honestly really should be. If it isn't, it's someone has screwed up somewhere, you know. Super Mario World is like 91 or something like that. It was pretty early on. Oh yeah, new U. Also known as the really good of the U games. You know, you don't have to pollute everywhere you go, Robotnik. I'm just saying. So I didn't find it innately, naturally, one might say, but there's a part of the Mystic Caves that I will never forget. It's a pit that you can fall into. And I do believe there's spikes in that pit. But if you fall into the pit in a certain manner, you cannot get back out of it. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, that sucks, but why do you remember that pit so well? So, me and my friend used to regularly replay this game as Supersonic. You can't die to the spikes as Supersonic. And we would fall down there regularly, like it was a non-infrequent occurrence. Yeah, we had out the ring timer, which just was frustrating. It's like, oh, cool. I guess this is just my life now. Thank you, Innocence, very much for the sub. You are doing as well as you can be right now. Give me a moment, I will jot this down. Hey, how do you stop an immortal being? Lots of concrete. I didn't see the release date, no. Although, what's going on with Ace Combat Zero? Like, is that a remaster, or is that a port? That's going towards Automation, Wario Land, and Stellaris. Done. Okay, it's a port. That's what I thought. Yeah, they say there's going to be a Nintendo Direct this week where we will not hear about Fortune's Weave. Here, have some random music. Same exact footage, same exact narration for Star Fox. Star Fox 64-3, excuse me. I'm going to keep calling it that. Because that's what it is. Yes, I've done quite a few of them, Damashi. I have succeeded once. Speaking of Mario. Sort of. Really, Ross? Yeah, no, I'm really not joking when I get exasperated by the fact that we've had, I think, 5 versions of Star Fox at this point, because there's the original, there's Star Fox 2, which was a reimagining, there's Star Fox 64, which was a remake, there's Star Fox 64 3DS, which was a remaster of the remake, and then there's the new one. You could also, nope, that's not true. Sorry, I forgot about Star Fox Zero. Forgot about Star Fox Zero, excuse me. Which is a reimagining of 64, and now we have this one, which is a remake of 64 again. So, sorry, we're up to 6 versions if we count the original. Guys, make a new Star Fox game. I know you're burned because the 3 good, different Star Fox games you made, only one of them was good, but, and hear me out, this is the big secret, okay? Just bear with me. The secret is to make good games. Adventure did suck. Although I haven't reviewed it yet. Nintendo has the ability to make good games. For all their many, 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 many flaws, they can make good games. Oh, dude, Assault. I am one of those strange people who really liked Assault. I know, strange. Oh, I've replayed Assault several times. Assault even had continuity. Sorry, I'm double checking my notes here real quick. Give me 1 second, please. It also had body horror. No, I just care about money. That's the one thing we really needed out of Star Fox was body horror. Yeah, no, that appears to be correct. Well, it's easy, Wolverine. You just pick one of them, and you have a... Let's see, what is that? A 2/3 chance to play the same Star Fox game. It's not a joke. Yeah, they turned Star Wolf... I mean, honestly, it's kind of the typical path for a rival. But at least they turned into something other than just the rival. And I did actually appreciate that. I'm in charge of a proper Mario game or a Sonic game. Okay. Well, we know what I'm going to make as a Mario game. Someone in chat, tell me. What Mario game am I going to make? Because I won't shut up about it. Yeah, so, a Mario 4X game. Something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Something I have been quietly building in the back of my brain for a while. Ugh. That's horrible push-ups. Yeah, Sonic RPG. By the way, hi, Nuki. I've been wanting a good Sonic RPG for quite a while. I think there's a lot of potential there. We could also do a beat 'em up Sonic. We've actually already done that once, if you're paying attention to your history. Okay. So here's our major mechanic. Notice that they tutorialize this, by the way. It's quicksand. And it's thanks, Tails. Yeah, I don't actually know if I can get out of here. I think Tails literally... There we go. I've been trying to do that a couple of times here, and he's just leaving me. I guess we can try. Okay, we can go under. Yes, I did chill pangolin. Sorry, you... Ugh. Okay. I'm trying to be very precise about the review, especially since I'm sure a lot of people want to know how to reviews compared to everything else. So I was double checking a few maps and double checking myself in a few things when I donated. Why 91? Okay, so Hi-Fi Rush, AC Night, Sonic Adventure 2. Also, yeah, I actually have a really real simple rule, for those of you who've never heard me say this. If I don't audibly say out loud, thank you for the donation, and say what I'm putting it towards, treat it as though I have not gotten it. I may have, and I may have forgotten to, but that's the double check, right? That's the second check mark to make sure that a donation goes through, because it doesn't always. And sometimes I miss stuff, because I'm stretching my attention like 4 different directions. So please always feel free to point something out if I don't catch it. Now, wait more than 3 seconds. That's the key. Use your brain. If you donate and then immediately say, "Hey, did you get my donation?" That might be a little dickish. Don't do that. Either way, let me, before I show off our next major mechanic... Oh, Jesus, hang on. Ugh, there we go. Now you can have some music. Thank you, Chill Pangolin, very much. I do always appreciate you. Thank you. And I got a bow to Evo, too. Thank you, Evo, for existing. All right. So here's our next new mechanic. So we have quicksand. But you'll notice something's weird. I can no longer jump. It's because I got oil on my shoes. What? What? I don't understand that at all. Hold on. What? Okay. Hang on. Let me get back to the oil. See if I can replicate what just happened. That was extremely strange. So, sorry, to be clear, there are 3 jump buttons, because this is the Genesis. On my controller, that amounts to Y, B, and A, or square, X, and circle, if you prefer. I use B, aka X, as my primary jump button. This is just where my finger goes, thanks to muscle memory for jumping. It wasn't working. Y was, A was, B wasn't. So I sort of automatically assumed that this thing was preventing me from jumping. It's not preventing me from jumping at all now. So I have no idea why my B button just stopped working. So yeah, apparently I just made up that mechanic. What am I remembering? I know there's a thing where, like, you can't jump as a result of this. I thought it was here. Obviously, I am wrong. Anyways, sorry, moving on. They just completely screw up everything here. No, I don't mean in this game, because by memory, I don't think there is such a thing in this game. I think several games that have that kind of a mechanic. These sort of Mario games, and of all things, Doom. Might have been a Mega Man game I was thinking of. The problem is I don't have the familiarity with Sonic to say if there's ever such a mechanic in a Sonic game, because Anyways, our other big gimmick is, of course, the wind. Sorry for not talking about that. And they're very clever about it, and it does like to push you in a direction. I will say, in reference to a video that Rax linked me recently, probably one of the downsides of Sonic 2's levels is most of the challenges, the encounters you go through, have one solution. And that's it. Now, that's not always true. There's some really good level design here, too. It's just, there tends to be a, this is how you're intended to get through the level kind of a thing. And that was definitely one of the biggest flaws of Sonic Colors. I like Sonic Colors, but yikes. Sometimes you basically just take your hand off the controller, you know what I mean? Seahorses, am I right? I mean, it would make sense to me if Robotnik built all this. He does have that whole thing, you know, the capitalism vibe. Hey, look, me taking my hand off the controller for a minute. Speaking of... yeah. Chemical plant had its own 2 sections. Really? I mean, I'll pull up a speedrun in a minute here, Colger. Just for you. Does this predate Donkey Kong Country Run? Hey, Nordame. Can someone look up when DKC 1 came out? Please. Was DKC 194? Wow. That's way later than I thought. Because, you know, then there was DKC 2 and DKC 3. Yeah, our timeline here is going to be funny, because we went back in time, and then in a minute here we're going to go forward, like, about 3 years, I think. When we play the next game. Stupid seahorse. Let thing I do appreciate about it, Sonic 2, is it tries to add at least one new gimmick, mechanic, enemy, or whatever per stage. Obviously, we have the oil here. And the quicksand, but also the moving spikes are new. The seahorses are new. The octopi are new, not that they changed too much. These things are new. So I've never played Sonic and Knuckles, or Sonic 3, or I'm just going to call it Sonic 3 for the sake of brevity, if that's okay. I've never played Sonic 3, like, at all. So I don't know much about it. I know certain people, cough, 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 who swear to the high heavens that it's one of the greatest platformers ever. And I'm not saying I don't believe them. It's just, I have a difficulty believing that. I look forward to being proven wrong. Oh, so much for that checkpoint. I didn't want a checkpoint right from the boss anyways. Who needs boss checkpoints? Sorry, what, Lord Farstrom? I mean, by definition, yes, I do actually like... Whoops. I looked away from the screen for 1 second. I do actually like Sonic 2 better than 3, because I've never played 3! It is difficult for me to like a game I have never played. If I was in the Sonic universe, what would I do first? Alright, first thing I do, get those Chaos Emeralds. And then, hide them somewhere where no one will ever find them. I'm done with this. Stop being so concerned with these stupid emeralds. Can we not release the giant moon-sized Ultra Death, please? Then I go find Robotnik, and I shoot him in the face with a gun. And then Sonic's like, oh my god! I'll defeat you! And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Robotnik's dead, so, like, you can do whatever to me. I just saved your entire planet like 15 times. You're welcome. Well, let's ignore Wonder for just a second. The game that Sonic 3 is usually compared against is Yoshi's Island. And for those of you not aware, Yoshi's Island scored extremely well. Probably because it's an extremely good game. So I think that's, like, whereas this game's direct competitor is probably Super Mario World, which it has a solid chance of. I think Sonic 3's big comparison point is going to be Yoshi's Island. That I have no idea how that's going to turn out. Yeah, Yoshi's Island is 449.08. It is a very good game. Which one, Colburn? Yeah, 149 was Super Mario World. Oh, hey, it's the best stage in the game. Before we do the best stage in the game, why is Robotnik capturing the critters? Well, different canonical sources disagree on the specifics, but I believe at this point in history it's because animals have life force, and he uses life force to power his robots. There are some other interpretations there, and that's how we're going to refer to that. Hmm. Yeah, work him to death. You mean metaphorically, right? Anakin. You mean metaphorically, right? Hmm. Yeah, I'm thinking about doing something unique for Sonic 3 when we get there. I haven't decided if I'm going to yet. I say unique. It's not that unique. Something unusual. Better word choice. Yeah, the fact that Sonic CD did that well, I was not expecting that, to be very clear. Oof. So anybody in chat want to know which stages are scoring the best overall so far? So far. I admittedly haven't typed up any of my notes yet, because that takes time. Time is not something you have. Casino, I mean, so far almost every stage has been good. In fact, I think we only have one net negative stage right now. Which is Aquatic Ruin, if you're wondering. So far, Oil Ocean and Hilltop are scoring the best overall from a mechanics perspective. Oh, yeah, it's it makes sense that the camera would be tinting red. Here, hang on. Um, yeah, I'll make it tint blue. Check this out. Blue. Yeah, Hilltop. I'll go into my details and reasonings later, but it's really smart about how it does its challenges. Hilltop has a lot of precise platforming, which rewards you for doing it right by not only making you feel awesome, but allowing you to zip through certain sections while being able to recognize that there's a threat there that you're just completely bypassing. Here's the thing that really makes Hilltop work so well. At almost every screw up point, there is specifically a part of the level that is placed that someone somewhere thought, hey, let's put a ring here, or let's put a platform here, or let's put a shield. Yeah, exactly, Roxy. Like there's something there to help you recover. It's still on you. It's still a skill, but they give you that secondary option of, okay, here, you weren't awesome, but I got you, fam. And the fact that it nails both of those aspects so well is really awesome. And it did that consistently throughout the course of Hilltop Zone. Yeah, that freaking... that impressed me, Rax, the fact that that was there. Because, again, QA, 50 people who knew what they were doing, who were doing video evidence, 50 people QAing this game. Hilltop feels like it got a little bit extra polish than most of the other worlds. Ocean, by contrast, doesn't have that same thing going for it. What Ocean has going for it, and I'm actually staring at the map right now, which is why you're saying I look red, is because it's actually orange here. But I'm looking at the Ocean stage, right? I got it full screen on my monitor here. Ocean is a Sonic CD level. And I realize how that sounds if you didn't know me and know my opinion of Sonic CD's level design. There's a lot going on. And a lot of it allows you to have multiple vectors by which you can move through some of its individual challenges. Ignoring the barrel launches, that's just basically free mode, you've got, like just right here. Okay, so you can use this elevator to bounce down here. That reveals a bounce pad, which enables you to get up to the upper layer, or you can just do a jump from here off of that bounce pad, which enables you to get up there. Both of those are tricky. Both of those allow you to get up. Both of those are optional. You also have the option to just kind of keep going forward. If you do, you can ride the platform up, you can skip over the thing on the bottom, or you can use the bounce pad on the left to fly up, which will enable you to land on the platform that's up top and go up that way. That's 3 methods just to get through that one section. Stuff like that, right? And yeah, it all feels natural. It's all just whatever occurred to you in the moment to do. And you can go slow and you can go fast, which once again is a nice mixture because it appeals to multiple different playstyles and therefore more players. So yeah, Oil Ocean is good. I'm impressed. All right, so I'm going to jot that down while I still have those thoughts fresh in my mind. Now we're doing Metropolis Zone. Now, I have gone out of my way to try and avoid other people's opinions. So you're saying a known criminal calls it Hydro City, Ross. A criminal who went to prison for multiple years, for 2.5 years. Yeah, okay. Who also thinks that the Japanese developers suck because they don't appreciate his genius, and the American developers suck because they're American pigs. This is not a joke, by the way. He was racist in both directions. That's not a joke. The more I learn about this guy, the more I'm like, God damn. This is the dude? And by the way, fun fact, he worked on Sonic 3 most of all. So, like, that's the one that has the most Yuji Naka of the games we've covered so far, as far as influence and development. Anyways, so I've been trying to avoid people's opinions on stages in this game because you get to a platformer, everyone's going to have like a favorite stage or a least favorite stage, right? Unfortunately, even I cannot avoid everyone telling me that this is the worst stage in the history of the universe. So we'll see what we think of this. I've heard this song before. Oh, that's okay. So, in total contrast to what I just praised about both of the previous stages, you notice there's no level design here. Like, I know we're only about 4 screens into this stage, but there's nothing here, right? We have a linear hallway going forward with very, very basic platforming challenges, and some bullcrap. Like that guy, who I literally didn't even see until he shot me. The fact that they have the starfish in the walls where they can barely be seen is such a dick move. You see those upper right there? Do you see them? There's one below me, too. So that's our first decision we've made. What? In the entire stage so far, which is to go up. I'm just gonna avoid that guy. Oh, that's such a dick move! Okay. So, in case you missed why that's such a dick move, the player is entering the spiral from the left, which means, quite naturally, they're going right. Also, this is Sonic 2, which encourages you to go right quickly. And in case you missed it, I had so much momentum going one way, I couldn't stop in time before I got crushed to death. I'm not even talking about the fact that there was another dick move right after that. Wow, I'm up to like two negatives already. This is terrible. This is terrible enemy design. This is terrible enemy placement, which is encounter design. This is terrible trap terrain design. And there's not even anything good offsetting it, right? It's his favorite level. You know, that says everything about that man that I need to hear. No, it's not the insider trading. It's not the racism. It's the fact that he likes Metropolis Zone. Alright. Now I feel bad. Anybody in chat, do you like this zone? Because I'm going to feel bad if there's someone in chat who's just staying quiet, because they're like, but I like this zone. And for that, I apologize. Whoever you are valid, and you are awesome. Well, okay. Also, so far, this is the worst zone for the visual noise problem. That is such a problem for a lot of Genesis games, and especially the Sonic games we've been playing so far. I don't think Robotnik would push AI. He's not that evil. I mean, I think with some proper, level design, this stage could be pretty awesome. But, what the hell do I know? Oh, you little snot. Yep. Yeah, that's actually a good point. Eggman, what the hell was that? Okay, so let me give out some negatives. Okay. And with that, this level has already surpassed the underwater level I forgot the name of, as far as worsts. Unless this second stage absolutely crushes it, I think we have our new winner for worst. This is interesting. No, Elazar. Nothing at all. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Let me just physics my way up here. I mean, that would make sense, Chilpangle. All my levers look like molten metal to me. Yeah, I was holding off on a slicer negative, but I'm kind of leaning towards agreeing with you. Yeah, speaking of things getting worse, how many of you have noticed that a huge number of websites have just been slower lately? And it is pretty lately. It's like within the last month or so. There is a theory going around, not proven, that my niece is trying to walk in for the third time today. You can't stay hidden. You know that, right? Now listen. I'm in the middle of a very difficult stage. So what's up? What's up? I'm gonna fling you under the bed. Is that what this is? You want to be flung on the bed? What? Yeah.
That was fun.
That's the idea. So what do you want? You can't stay here, remember? I know you
We
like
want
to.
to watch.
You want to watch? Okay, you can watch for 5 minutes. Does that sound all right?
Yes.
Okay. You want me to get your chair out, or do you want to sit up here? You want to sit on the bed? Okay. I accept. I accept.
We also want to play games.
You know what? I can accept that too. Give me a moment.
What kind of games do you have?
I don't have a lot of games on here. In fact, all of my games are for you and your big sister. So do you want the farm? Do you want the fairy tale? Do you want the city? Do you want the apartment? Do you want clothes?
Clothes.
Okay. There you go. Hit the big button. But anyways, the theory about what's going on here is that the screen. So you know how the bubble has burst and how most billionaires with a brain have already pulled out, and almost every company is in the middle of pulling out of AI. The theory is that the people who want to become gods, let's just say that as bluntly and overtly as we possibly can. Yeah, that's a psychological concept. I forget the name of it more. Anyways, that they are desperate to try and scrape as much data as possible while they still can before it all gets shut down, so that they can then create their super AI and then win. So that's the running theory, is that they are scraping harder and more thoroughly than they already have been, trying to get every last bit of information they can. And of course, that's everywhere, so that affects everything. I mean, pound for pound, yeah, we're already there, just because the sheer quantity of what a scraper can do is so much beyond, like, what humans are capable of. So, the reason I say win in such a generic term is most of these people don't seem to have any kind of plan for how that's going to work. Right? There's no, I need, I don't know, 15 nuclear pastas to be able to create a warp core. Right? There's no plan there. It's, I'm going to make true AI, and it's going to solve all of the world's problems and put me on the top so I can rule on high as Sultan. That's the goal. Yeah, these people are not smart, you have to understand. Yeah, it's why I was talking about this just last night. It's insane, and I don't mean that as like an insult word. I mean that as a literal demonstrative term. They're insane. They do not have rationality behind their reasoning. Sane people want things like, okay, money, or resources, or power, or wealth, or expression, or dick measuring, or whatever. An insane person doesn't want something rational. And a lot of the people currently pushing AI are insane. They are not thinking rationally. So it doesn't matter to them the amount of damage they're doing to literally everything, because that's not part of the equation for them. See you around, Jay Palmer. Yeah, I see you coming there. Oh, I didn't think it would actually reach me. I mean, they are, Benwana, if that's what your concern is, fear not. I got good news. I mean, honestly, Roxy, if you've seen any of the quotes coming out of some of the AI crowd right now, calling them a JRPG antagonist is no longer a joke. Like, we're past that point. Would be nice, Mike Kamano. One thing some people don't understand about me at all is they think I like talking about this kind of stuff. I would be very happy to put this back into the, the annals of history and just be like, yeah, we're good. We don't have to ever bring this up ever again. Yeah, no, you saw me hesitate there, Ross. Yeah, I like talking economics. That's not what this is. Just 3. Jesus Christ, our first 3, and it's Metropolis Zone. I know what I said, Benwana. I hate your name. I hate your name. I hate you so much. Mojo.com. What the hell is Mojo.com? Atrocity Zone. Well, we already had Hydrocity Zone. Yeah, I'm weird off the deep end. I admit it. I like history. I like, I like science. I like economics. I'm weird. I accept it. I'm done. What are you doing to that poor kitty? No, don't eat them. Oh, I see. You're taking very amusing pictures. I also like military history, which makes no sense even to me. Because war is so horrible, and most militaries, historically speaking, are worse. But the tactics, right? The strategy, the numbers on a map are just fascinating. The usage of terrain. Yeah, no, exactly. Like I mean, it's one of the reasons why I gravitate so much towards strategy games. It's because a strategy game is mostly about, the map and the terrain and the how you use this and if this thing can hit this angle. Like, there's a whole bunch of design strategy thought. It's an interesting thing to me. I don't know how to better to put that. Yeah, exactly, Phaethon. Logistics and tactics are fascinating. If you've ever read up on any war at a ground viewpoint, it's pretty horrible. Yeah, I'd say that counts. Oh, Verdun. Ugh. I was just following orders has never been an excuse. I don't even care. Whoa. You know what's really funny? I mentioned there's a couple stages I don't really remember in this game. This is one of them. I don't have strong memories of this stage, which is funny. I'm wondering if we just supersonicked our way through this and we're like, yeah, we're good. Okay. In case you weren't paying attention or that went by too quickly to process, let me explain what just happened. So enemies don't despawn. There's no Ninja Gaiden problem in Sonic games, right? So one of the stars was up top and exploded. Now I was long past it, right? I was past the enemy. So I went down, went over to here, and got knocked back, or I got stalled, excuse me, in my movement because the door At which point, the shot hit me from the dude, which lost me right back over to here, which then led to my death. I barely even caught that, because, you know, I have a decent amount of ability to pay attention to things very quickly, because I played Mega Man games. But that's just, yeah. So yeah, we're just gonna let those... Yeah, these guys killed me. Just gonna stall. So anyways... I mean, an inordinate quantity of fiction which portrays corporates as the bad guys does so from an extremely interesting lens. The idea is usually that there's one bad corporate person, and that one person is the problem. And so the obstacle then becomes taking down that one person, not corporations. What? What? Oh my god. Now remember, you have to be somewhat quiet while you're up here while I'm streaming. Is that okay? Okay. Yeah, RoboCop 1 is a good example. Remember, there were good corpos. Even though that makes absolutely no sense within the confines of the film itself. Yeah, Stark Enterprise is not the issue. It's Obadiah Stane that's the issue, etc., etc. There's hundreds of examples of this. Corporations aren't the problem. It's just that one dude. I mean, even Cyberpunk tends to go out of its way to not portray most of the corpos as bad. There's usually individual corpos are bad, or, conversely, everyone is bad. Hey. I'm going to have to ask you to leave if you keep asking, if you keep being loud. Okay? I see it, it's very cute, and I'm glad that you're sharing it with me. I am. But you can't be loud up here while I'm streaming. Do you understand? I'm sorry. Would you like a blanket? Blanket mode engaged. Blanket mode. You're so strong. You're so strong. You're so strong. Oh, okay, you beat me. You win. You win. I'm going to move you a little bit. Is that okay?
Okay.
Here, why don't we go switch up here? Gives you some blankets. Or not blankets, sorry. No blankets. And then a blanket.
I don't want a blanket.
I know. I'm gonna get over there. There. Is this comfy? Are you comfy? No, not the glasses. No. Not the mustache. Not the mustache. No. Oh, thank goodness. Okay. Whew. That was close. She almost put the mustache on the dog. God, I can't deal with that.
I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it again.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. No. Damn these things. Every time a slicer hits me, it's another negative. That was irritating. Oh, come on, game. Ah! Oh my god. There. Ah! Okay, fine. I give up. Let's just do this the other way. trying to do it the legit way, and the game's like, no, you don't get to be legit. Death to legitimacy. I mean, why would they, Sean? So, this is interesting. What is this, the bubble boss from 1? I mean, yes, it literally is. I would be surprised if it's borrowing the same code to function. What? So then we have this stage. Let's... Yeah. Let me jot down some thoughts really quick here.
I made a tiger.
Did you? Nice. Anyway, so yeah, Metropolis Zone is the worst by quite a bit. Yeah, we're actually going to be chopping off the guessing game soon-ish. So yeah, this is an auto-scroller.
Now, because I did different pictures.
Yes, you may.
This one.
Oh, I got a spin dash now. All right, so let me. So you down this. Go. All right, so pick from any of these. Which ones do you want? Which one do you want? All right. Yeah, now they're past Scrap Brain. Yeah, Tails is a pilot, by the way. Yep. Hey, let's try a few variants of that. Okay. Yeah, drop dash is safe, and I don't appear to have the other one, which I don't remember the name of. There's no checkpoints on this stage, are there? Yeah, thankfully it's not super long, but like... Well, hang on, so we just got the halfway point, right? Yeah, we deliberately die. Let me. Let me die, Tails! Sonic, no, you have so much to live for! Just think, you've got Sonic 06 coming up, you've got Sonic Shadow, you've got Sonic Unleashed night stages. You've got Sonic Spinball coming up. Sonic 4 is coming out, Sonic! Help me out, what's some other terrible Sonic games? Because I haven't played a lot of them, honestly. Yeah, no checkpoint, by the way, in case you missed that. Oh yeah, Sonic Boom! You gotta play Sonic Boom? And Sonic Forces. I don't even know what Sonic Labyrinth is. You know, Tails is like, I get my own Metroidvania. Woo! Is that a terrible game, Ross? Oh, excuse me. Does Sonic and Knuckles count as a terrible game? Yeah, in case you didn't catch that, there really is no checkpoint on this stage. Negative to gameplay. No checkpoints is not a great thing in general. No checkpoints in a slow stage where you have to redo the entire slow auto-scroller is not a good thing. Listen, if Shadow had a... Oh, there we go. I was right at the end, too. That's funny. I mean, I did die deliberately. Alright, so I'm going to say something very unpopular here. That death sucks. Hang on. I can't quite hear you, baby. You want a different game? Okay, but this is the last one. Wait. Turn me up. Yeah. Say a Winged Fortress, which is a one-stage stage. Oh, God. Hang on. So, inconsistent voice acting. Can I think of a good way to do it? Well, yes, of course. All you have to do... Okay, so there's actually two ways to do inconsistent voice acting. But I have a feeling you're asking for a specific reason. So... Come on. Ah, whatever. Yep. Didn't quite manage that. Method number one is the Banjo-Kazooie method, right? That's when an anonymous gifter, thank you, whoever you are, very much, appreciate the subs. If whoever just did that would like to put those towards up to 3 future games, please let me know. A lot of enemies here for some strange reason. Also, this is like the worst song in the game. I actually think it's the second worst song in the game. Animal Crossing does the same thing. What you do is you have... Undertale actually does this. That's a game you're more familiar with. It does this thing where there are clips that play... per voice, right? Each person has their own voice. Paper Mario 2 R did this as well, if you remember. Well, see, the thing is, I tend to consider that bad, Roxy. You still don't understand. Okay. Hang on. Hang on. We gotta hit the stream breaks. Undertale had a voice for every single character. So this is Flowey. This is Toriel. This is Sans. At this point, you can probably recognize some of these because they're very distinct. There's a different sound for everyone. This is actually used as a narrative tool in Undertale because at a certain point in time, you can actually tell who's speaking, even if they're not on the screen or if it doesn't say their name, because it's their voice. The reason I said Banjo-Kazooie is Banjo-Kazooie does the same. That's how they talk, right? There is another way to do this, which is problematic and really easy to screw up. What it boils down to is you have a handful of generic lines, that's the character, and you have them say that. Shantae does this constantly. Persona 5 did this a little bit. So, let's say, 3 lines of dialogue going back and forth between several people. And instead of saying, yes, I think Evo is super amazing. I agree, but you have to understand her amazingness is beyond compare. Yes, it is truly very amazing. There's 1, 2, 3, right? Instead of voicing all that out, it'll be like, huh? Yes. Hey. Or, hey. I agree. Yes. Now, the reason I say that can be bad is because it depends on the specifics. Some games overuse that to the point where it's actually frustrating. For real? To once again use Persona 5 as an example there. But, done properly, that can at least give a metaphorical voice to a character and still allow you to save on the massive amount of time and money that it takes to go and do proper voice acting in this direction. Yeah, there's actually a few visual novelty games that are really bad about what I just talked about, probably because they didn't design it at all. Now, whatever you do, don't do what Neverwinter Nights 1 does, because I hate that. That's a negative, pretty much automatically. So want to say something funny? Check it out. I learned this because of challenge runners. For years I played this game, dodging those flames. They don't exist. There's no collision. Okay. Yeah, this is not a very good stage, and the good news is, the next stage is not very good either. Yes, a lot of people have spent a lot of time over a lot of years to avoid voice acting because everybody who knows anything knows voice acting is time-consuming and expensive. And now you grab. I'm not either, Evo, but the voice method works really well. Honestly, do me a favor. You know what? Hold on. Just for you, Evo, we're going to do something really quick. I think I can pull this up quickly. Give me a second. Let's make sure we're saved here. Yeah, we're saved. We're good. Do not have to imagine that, Rex. Come on. Hang on. How so? Hardball one. By the way, you should play this game if you haven't. I'm dead serious. I try not to overemphasize, I try not to overpraise. This is a very good game. Moving on. I mean, Pikmin 4 also does the inconsistent thing, but I wanted to show off something a little more specific. Sorry, I hit B because it said A, and I've been mentally reprogramming my mind because of the fact that I'm playing Sonic. Still haven't got an email about the Steam controller, by the way. Oh, this game does so much with text. Like, play this game. You want my recommendation for this game? Play this game. That's my recommendation. Someone do me a favor. Which ranking does this game have? Like, how high on the list is it? I apologize for the fact that I was not saved in town. Okay, you listening, Evo? Fifth, yeah. Oh, FF9 does some great stuff with its text boxes. But you're hearing it already, right? There are literally over 100 NPCs in this game. And almost every single one of them has a unique voice. Including, obviously, the principal cast, who I think I only have access to one of right now. Well, I can talk to him. Meanwhile, the audio is just glitching out all over the place. That's always great to hear. And there's Luigi. This is the one I wanted. Game, could you stop for 5 seconds? What are you doing? What are you doing? You'll notice, by the way, it's not just doing the same thing Undertale did. God, I hope so too, Rex. It's doing very specific voices that were actually recorded or captured from the actual actors who do actually voice the characters. For example, this sounds like Luigi because it literally is Luigi doing the I'm a Luigi, number one. See, you can hear it there, right? Now, that takes a lot of time and effort and work. Almost as much as just doing voice acting. But it works. And it sounds really freaking good when you do it right. Sorry for the derailment, everyone. You know the biggest sin this level commits? The music sucks. It's okay, I gave up on beating this before lunch anyways. This lunch is in like 15 minutes. I don't know if it has checkpoints. I'm just gonna do this again. What? Baby? Okay. Like, there has to be a checkpoint on this stage, surely. It was right there. So if you're wondering what happened there, did you see that little indent right before the platform? I sort of assumed it was either interactable or would pop out into something that was interactable. It was not. It was just a part of the background. I realized that too late, and so pulled forward to then finish making the jump, failed, and didn't make the jump in either direction. Actually, yeah. Damashi. I like the word for 1 second. I mean, the brickwork is kind of dull, but much worse is the fact that the visual distinction here is awful. Like, legitimately player hostile. It's like, look, I'm gonna die anyways. I might as well just die on my own terms. So, let's talk about timers, because you might not have noticed what just happened there, if you're not familiar with the concept. There's two types of timers when it comes to programming in a video game. One is universal timers, and one is dynamic timers. I actually don't think they're called dynamic timers, but whatever. The other one is universal timers. So, yeah, apparently I was right. I was just too fast, which is funny. What's the word we're going to use for that? Most Sonic games, to my knowledge, use universal timers, aka what's happening is always happening in the background. At 3 seconds into the stage, The same thing is always happening at the same time, everywhere on the stage. Makes sense? By contrast, a dynamic timer is one in which it'll be like, okay, as soon as you get in visual range of something, it'll pop out. Now, most games tend to do more dynamic timers because dynamic timers are generally considered to be better. First of all, they're much easier to on the load on the game. It's easier to... It's less strain on the system. But also, it's because that means that the player has a degree of control over when things spawn. Now, that can be done badly too, of course. But the point is, I wouldn't... Yeah, Mega Man does that. I wouldn't have to worry about when exactly the platforms are there, because they will always be there when I get there. On a universal timer, I have to worry about the platforms being open when I get there, because they're always rotating in and out, in and out. It is something all of the Sonic games do, and is only occasionally an issue. Like here. And yeah, I couldn't tell if that was a conveyor or just background noise. Not the first time I've had that problem in this stage today. So, one last stage. We're going to cut off the guessing game basically now. It's a good time to get your guesses in. Come on, Tails. God, keep up with the rocket. It's like, I know Tails' plane has a rocket launcher too. Anyways, rocket engine? Rocket engine. Rocket propulsion? You're what, Elizar? Oh yeah, Sonic would have failed without Tails. Yeah, so there's space. How would I know what your guess is? You're supposed to put it in the document, Elizar. So welcome to the Death Egg. I believe this is our first Death Egg. Let me go ahead and chop off that guessing game. Here. Yep, you guessed plus 38. Anyone in the middle of guessing? I don't know if I get. So we'll go ahead and lock this down. Boop. That is unlikely, Ross. Okay. Okay. We'll see how this works. So first we got tossed immediately into a boss with Mecha Sonic, the most metal of all Sonics. By the way, notice we have no rings, and there are no rings. If you do that, that happens. Yeah, this guy actually predates Mecha Sonic, doesn't he? Yeah, his people have analyzed it. His hurt box versus his hit box is absolutely bonkers. What, baby, baby?
I was mad at your phone.
Okay, I accept. The main problem with this guy is he just has too much health. Yeah, it's almost like you're literally working every night and then sleeping in the office in your cubicle is not a great way to make video games. It's strange how that works out. I don't agree with that one. Yeah, with one ring, this wouldn't be nearly this bad. Probably why there's no rings here. Because any screw-up means doing it over again. Damn it. How much health does he have? Does anyone know? I'm guessing it's 8. This is why I'm not getting lunch today. Right here. Where would Sonic go on the lighter dark side of the force? Yeah, keep in mind, if we didn't have infinite lives, every single one of these failures would be immensely frustrating. I didn't know what he was going to do. I was kind of positioned to be able to jump or not jump, depending. Yeah, I'm kind of glad we decided not to use the original version of the game. This continues to be the right call. I mean, I've said this before, most of these games were made by people who cut their teeth making arcade games. At this point in history, Sega had only just started to pull out of porting arcade games to the Genesis. Sonic 1 was one of their first unique titles in a very long time. So I know he's going to go straight across now, so I can plan for that. So now the much worse boss. So this boss could go directly to hell, and we're going to be seeing this a lot. So his weak spot... Yeah, no checkpoint, by the way. His weak spot is his belly right there. See that? Spike, belly, spike, belly. That's how you fight him. You have to get in there right when it's not there. Which I did not do, because I still have no health, and I'm not sure of the timing. And now we're fighting Silver again. These last fights suck. And for all the wrong reasons. As pointed out, one of the problems with the Silver fight is it's so boring. Like, you get to a point where you kind of have the fight memorized. I mean, I'm looking at 4 negatives just for the Silver fight. Yeah, we'll get to a point where this guy is not even a consideration. And then we'll have to spend all our time on this jackass. I don't actually know how many frames he's vulnerable here before he does his weak spot thing. But to show that off briefly, so he walks forward. And he walks there. And this should be the takeoff. Yep, takeoff. I forgot he shot his gloves, but that was the weak spot right there. That was his vulnerability phase. Hey, it's Silver again. It's no use! Yeah, by the way, you've seen almost the entire fight. He is a very simple fight. Yeah, Silver is... so we've talked about boss design before. There's enemies that react to you. There's enemies that acknowledge you. And then there's enemies that do not acknowledge you. That's the 3 basics of boss design right there. And Mega Man 2 is a great example of this because Mega Man 2 has all 3. So an enemy that acknowledges you is someone like, say, Metal Man. If you jump, he jumps. If you shoot, he shoots. And there's some interplay between that because, like, if you shoot, then and he hasn't jumped, then he'll jump. But if you jump and then shoot, he'll jump as well. You get it. Point being, he reacts to you. That's a very common approach to boss design. Then there's also Airman. Airman acts like you're not even there. He shoots the waves, then they go forward. He shoots the waves, then they go forward. He shoots the waves a 3rd time, he jumps over to the other side of the screen, and then he repeats his pattern. Nothing you do changes his pattern. Nothing you... for all intents and purposes, you do not exist to Airman. And then there's enemies that won't do anything unless you do something, which actually is a little bit different, but Crashman is a good example of that. He'll just walk back and forth until you do something, at which point he will immediately react to it. Sounds right? And then Quickman is insane, and also bugged. So the reason I bring all this up is Silver is the ignores you. Silver does the exact same thing every single time, as if you don't exist, and pretends that you don't exist. If you're not there, nothing he will do will ever change. This guy is a react, to my knowledge. He looks like he's an ignore you, because he'll walk forward. Yeah, exactly, Rex. He'll walk forward, then he'll set himself up, and it looks like he's completely ignoring you, but then he'll do this. This gives you a bit of control about where he lands. Once he lands, he shoots out bombs, if you're behind him, or he shoots his glove if you're in front of him. I get tired of the sound effect after a while, too. And the music. Yeah, no, if they added rings to this stage, this suddenly becomes a lot less horrible. They don't. There's no checkpoint, there's no rings, the enemies have very irritating vul windows, and very tiny hitboxes, while having gigantic hurt boxes. These are bullcrap fights. We talked about difficulty, you know, proper difficulty versus bullcrap difficulty. This is bullcrap. So now he's going to lean forward and shoot. And I got in my 2 hits. Shouldn't have gone for that. Yeah, pretty much, Rex. Hi, Dark Bonifacio. How's your day going? What are you doing, baby? Oh, I see. You're being silly is what you're doing. Nope, I see. Oh yeah, here's the rest of the song that you never hear. I don't know if I've ever beat these guys without being super. Legitimately, I don't know if I've done that. By the way, the other way in which this is Mega Man 2. Mega Man 2 has another degree of bullcrap, right? Its finale. Obviously, the final Wily fight is bullcrap, but also the shooter beam fight at the end of Wily 3, I want to say. Yeah, Sonic 2 actually had some decent boss fights. Alright. Here's what we're gonna do. What did Blade say? I didn't see Blade saying anything. Yeah, I was just saying. This is fun. Yeah. I'm gonna go grab lunch. See you in a bit.